من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تكونوا كالذين كفروا وقالوا لإخوانهم إذا ضربوا في الأرض أو كانوا غزا لو كانوا عندنا ما ماتوا وما قتلوا ليجعل الله ذلك حسرة في قلوبهم والله يحيي ويميت والله بما تعملون بصير. ولئن قتلتم في سبيل الله أو متم لمغفرة من الله ورحمة خير مما يجمعون. ولئن متم أو قتلتم لإلى الله تحشرون. فبما رحمة من الله لنت لهم ولو كنت فظا غليظ القلب لانفضوا من حولك فاعف عنهم واستغفر لهم وشاورهم في الأمر فإذا عزمت فتوكل على الله إن الله يحب المتوكلين. إن ينصركم الله فلا غالب لكم وإن يخذلكم فمن ذا الذي ينصركم من بعده وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون. وما كان لنبي أن يغل ومن يغلل يأت بما غل يوم القيامة ثم توفى كل نفس ما كسبت وهم لا يظلمون. أفمن اتبع رضوان الله كمن باء بسخط من الله ومأواه جهنم وبئس المصير. هم درجات عند الله والله بصير بما يعملون لقد من الله على المؤمنين إذ بعث فيهم رسولا من أنفسهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين أولما أصابتكم مصيبة قد أصبتم مثليها قلتم أنى هذا قل هو من عند أنفسكم إن الله على كل شيء قدير وما أصابكم يوم التقى الجمعان فبإذن الله وليعلم الذين نافقوا وقيل لهم تعالوا قاتلوا في سبيل الله أو ادفعوا قالوا لو نعلم قتالا لاتبعناكم هم للكفر يومئذ أقرب منهم للإيمان يقولون بأفواههم ما ليس في قلوبهم والله أعلم بما يكتمون الذين قالوا لإخوانهم وقعدوا لو أطاعونا ما قتلوا قل فادرءوا عن أنفسكم الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أمواتا بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون فرحين بما آتاهم الله من فضله ويستبشرون بالذين لم يلحقوا بهم من خلفهم ألا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون يستبشرون بنعمة من الله وفضل وأن الله لا يضيع أجر المؤمنين صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغ رسوله النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم.
Jazakallah, Brother Faiz. Inshallah, we are continuing this topic in which mainly describe, and I think it's the last ruku in which Ahadis discuss of the Surah Ali Imran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is instructing many different aspects of the outcome of the Battle of Uhud. And as we see that, after years of prosecution in the Makki life, when Nabi Sallallahu established the first Islamic state in Medina, and the first battle between Islam and Kufr was Badr, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised Nabi Sallallahu a clear victory. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a clear victory in the Battle of Badr, so what happened that many of those people in Medina who saw a worldly benefit, they saw a political glory, a military glory, and some of them, their heart changed and they true-heartedly converted to Islam, and some of them, they just wanted to jump on the bandwagon, as we see, so hypocritically joined. And the chief of hypocrites, Abdullah bin Ubay, when he saw a glorious victory against Quraysh by Muslims, so basically they were the Ansar people, and Ansar people, the Aus and Khazraj tribe, which now recently united. So they saw worldly glory and hypocritically convert. But so now you can describe the Madani people into three groups. One, they were long awaiting the arrival of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They had heard from Jewish people living in Medina that a final prophet is coming. So that's the reason Jews had settled, because they knew the land where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will migrate. So they had settled, chosen to settle in the land where last prophet will arrive. So a lot of Ansar, when they see a clear signs of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they converted. Some of them, they converted, but their iman was not that thing. They were still influenced by, hypocrites. And some of them, they were purely hypocrites. And hypocrites were the one, they had converted, like on the outward, they said that we have converted to Islam, but behind the backs, they were conspiring against Islam. That problem did not exist in Makkah, because in Makkah, only a person with a very strong iman could declare his iman. Otherwise, not only slave and the servants who were badly tortured and beaten up, but even the prominent people. I will give you example of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq. He was a very wealthy merchant. And he was an early convert. He was the first of the converts, and from his own tribe, he was, tortured. He was boycotted, and his son-in-law, one of the 10 blessed Ashra Mubashiras, which was, Talha bin Ubaidullah, he was again a very rich merchant, and they were tied together. Both father-in-law and son-in-law, they were tied with the same rope, and they were tortured. So that problem of hypocrites did not exist in Makkah, because their faith was tested again and again by prosecution, by humiliation, and all that. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself, who Quraysh people used to call him Sadiq and Amin, they would trust him with all their valuables. But when he declared his prophethood, so now Madani life was totally different. In Medina, there was some worldly benefit, because after long infighting, now there was a state, there was a peace in Medina, and these tribe of Aus and Khazraj. So Jewish tribes, they did not look too highly of them, because these are the people, they are warring people. The long civil war had, impoverished them, had weakened them. So, but they saw a political glory after the first establishment of. So now we will discuss it. That before the Battle of Uhud, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saw a dream, and he saw a dream in which he saw an armor, armor a soldier wears, and then he saw his sword, which was Zulfiqar, like two-pronged sword that was bent, and then he saw a cow being slaughtered, and then he saw a person on his back riding a ram. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told his dream to the Sahabas and explained it. He said that, the bent sword of Zulfiqar meant that hardship on himself. And he said that armor he saw, that meant the strong Medina. So, and then he said that cows that being slaughtered, he's saying that he will lose. He interpreted by saying that, his Sahabas will be slaughtered in the battle of Uhud. And he said that man riding a ram, that he said that he's the flag bearer or the eagle bearer of the Quraysh, he will be slaughtered. So as we see that all the prophecies came true, that, Nabi Sallallahu was injured and it was hard on him. So he had already forecast that. He saw the bent sword, that's what it meant. And then he saw 70 of his Sahabas, achieve martyrdom on that day, and he saw that as cow being slaughtered. And then he had prophesied that flag bearer, Talha bin Talha, the flag bearer of Quraysh, he will be killed. And that's what had happened. And after that, 10 people total from Banu Abdul Dar, who were carrying the banner of Quraysh, they were killed one by one. And but as the armor he saw in his dream, that denoted was a symbol of Medina, because just like in an armor, person is safe. So when Nabi Sallallahu said that we will be safe, so he said that we should stay in Medina and let the enemy come to us and we will fight it, because Medina is surrounded by mountains, and it's also has a lot of, at that time, lot of date palms that give a natural protection. But those people who had missed out on the battle of Badr, because Nabi Sallallahu, if you remember, Nabi Sallallahu, he probably wanted to give a surprise element to Quraysh. So he said that all the people who are ready, their animals are ready, we will go march with them. So some Sahaba say that, their animals is on the other corner of the city. Let us go and get. So Nabi said, no, only the ready people who are ready, they can march with us. So they say that those young people who had missed out on the battle, they wanted to go out and fight the enemy. So although Nabi Sallallahu was opposed to that, so Nabi Sallallahu, but when they insist that, all the young people that will go out and fight the enemies outside the Medina, so that's when Nabi Sallallahu put his full armor, and then he went out. So these Sahabas, young Sahabas, they realized that in their interpretation or their ijtihad was wrong, because they wanted to, engage in the fight with their enemy. But when they saw that it is against the advice of Nabi Sallallahu, he wanted to stay in Medina and fight within Medina. So when they saw that Nabi Sallallahu wearing his full armor and wants to march out of Medina, so they realized and they pleaded, excuse us, because what we advise. That's when Nabi Sallallahu say that, when a prophet wear his weapons and armor, he doesn't until something is settled in the battlefield, he doesn't rest. So he then marched out of that. Now that topic is discussing that all the Sahabas, there were 70 Sahabas, they were martyred on that day. So these hypocrites, they start saying, oh, what happened to our brothers? If they would have listened to us, and if we would have stayed in Medina, they would not have been slaughtered. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la takunu kallazina kafaru qalu li ikhwanihim idza darabu fil ardi aw kana qazzal law kanu indana. So do not be like those kafir who says, oh, if they would have listened to us and they would have stayed with us, they would not have been slaughtered, and they would not have. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing that, saying that, it was a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And since hypocrites, they did not know that honor, Shaheed gets it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing this was a test. So this is a test because we can find out who the hypocrite was. It doesn't mean that, Allah doesn't know. Allah and His Prophet knew who the hypocrites was. And as I said in the before, that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and this is the rule of Islam, that anybody who declares that he is Muslim, he is a Muslim. At least we take it on the face value. What in his heart is not up to us to say that he's a hypocrite. And you cannot just kill a person. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam knew each and every hypocrite, and he had given the list of all those hypocrites to his one of trusted Sahabi, Huzaifa bin Yaman, and he said that this person is a hypocrite. But those hypocrites were exposed because they started doing that and they became loud. And again, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not again went after them. And when Abdullah bin Ubay, the chief of hypocrites, or the Raisul Munafiqin, when he died, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam even recited the namaz janaza on him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he knew who he was, but he still raised his hand. He's the Rahmah, total Rahmat lil Alameen. He asked for forgiveness. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command came that do not ask for the forgiveness of the people who are the kufr. It was Abdullah bin Ubay. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mercy upon Muslims other way, that Abdullah bin Ubay, his son knew that his father was a hypocrite. So when he one time insulted Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he went to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and said that, if you order me, I will cut the head of my father and throw it on your feet. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no, I would never allow you to do that, because this way people will say that Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, kill his own Sahaba. So this is the rule that, we take it. He said that I'm Muslim, and that was taken. But his own son had converted to the true Islam. And so was one of the another enemy of Islam. Abu Amir Fasir, who was the, I think, uncle of the chief of hypocrites, his son, Hazrat Hunzala, he had died in the battle of Uhud. And this is, Hazrat Hunzala is also called the Ghasilul Malaika, because angels descended and gave him the, bathed him. So he's called Ghasilul Malaika. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has because such an honor was given to the people who died. But hypocrites or the munafiq, they did not know like what an honor it is. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that those in the day of judgment, those people will they will have some regret why we do not join them. Because Shaheed, when they will see that Shaheed, the honor and all the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them, and this is the thing. So after the battle of Uhud, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took refuge on the mountain Uhud, so Abu Sufyan shouted, said, today we avenge those people in the battle of Badr. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that, your dead and our dead cannot be equal. Your dead are in the Jahannam and our dead are in the Jannah. So although people who have died like on the worldly benefit, like, oh, they lost it. So that's what they were regretting, those hypocrites, that, our brother, our own people from the own tribes, they had died. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is consoling them. Those people whose iman was right, when they died, they were given the highest of the ranks. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them ranks. When Khalid bin Walid, who's called the sword of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave him the sword of Saifullah, the sword of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he was on his deathbed, there was not a single part of his body that did not have mark of wounds that he suffered in the battlefield. He was not only a general, but he was also a soldier. He will go to the foremost and he will fight very bravely. So his each aspect. So when he was dying, so he gave a message that I want to give a message to coward people that, here I am. I fought it, and each part of my body is marked with the wounds from the battle wounds, and I'm dying on my deathbed. So that's what Khalid bin Walid said. So when he also had a regret, Khalid bin Walid, that I fought so bravely in so many battles. He commanded 100 battles and he won 100 battles for Muslims. So when he was dying, he had a regret that why didn't I die as a shaheed? So one of his friends, he consoled him, said that you are the Saifullah, you are the sword of Allah, and only Allah can put back the sword in his sheath. So that's why you did not die in the battlefield. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that Allah will gather you in the day of judgment. So this is life that we see is just a temporary life. But we will be resurrected again, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the highest of the honor. And it will be such an honor for the shaheed that on the day of judgment, like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he wished that he can go back to the world, and such an honor he received it all over again. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say that this is against my rules, and he will be given honor and Jannah. When one of the shaheed of, you see that Hazrat Hanzala, he was given so much honor that angels descended and gave him bathed him. It was such an honor, and angels actually lifted up his coffin. And another shaheed of Uhud was the uncle of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Hamza. And when he passed all the 7 heavens, he wrote it on all the heavens that I am the lion of Allah and his prophet. And these are the honors. When one of the cousin of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he died in the battle of Mota, brother of Hazrat Ali, Jafar bin. So he in the battle had lost his both hands. So when he lost both his hands, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saw him that he was given in Jannah the wings. So that's why Jafar bin Abi Talib is also called Jafar al-Tayyar, Jafar the bird. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also describing that فَبِرَحْمَةً مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتُمْ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَا نُفَضُّ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that this is the mercy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as Rahmatul Alamin, that it is the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He made Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as Rahmatul Alamin sent. So he was, although at that time when Muslims not disobeyed, but they interpreted the command of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wrong, and say that they abandoned the very path they were supposed to guard. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did not deal with them very harshly. It was not the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam way. He was a very kind person to his Sahaba. One day, when young man came to meet Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and we saw the robe or the majesty of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he started shaking. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam consoled him in a very kind words, and he said that don't be afraid. I'm just a human like you. So he consoled him, and he was very kind to that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, those people who disobeyed you or interpreted your command wrong, so be kind to them and be forgive them. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and ask for their forgiveness, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can forgive them too. So that's why it was. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ وَشَاوِرْهُمْ, forgive them and also consult them in the matters. So that was the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is also the sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that he would consult people, like with all the battles that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam fought. He did that with the mashawrat or with that. So as we see that he consulted all the Sahabas that how the Uhud battle should be fought, and he himself gave his verdict that it should be best that we stay within Medina and then fight it. But he used to consult it, and the next major battle was the Jang-e Khandaq, Jang-e Ahzab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed a total surah called Ahzab, means confederation. So a confederation of, because all the tribes they attack on Medina. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is saying in this ayat, that consult them or do the take their advice. And one of the Sahabi, Hazrat Salman Farsi, who was from the distant land, Persia, and he had come to seek the truth all the way to Medina and accepted Islam and became Sahabi. So he gave an advice, which was totally a new idea, or totally alien to the warfare that would take place in the tribal warfare in Makkah. He said that in back home, what we do is before the battle, just for the protection, we dig a trench and then we put water in it, so enemy cannot cross it. And that's what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did. That a 10,000 strong army, 10 to 12,000 strong army, which was all the tribes of Arabia, they went and attacked Medina, and they thought that it will be a quick victory. But Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he consulted, he got an advice to dig a trench. So he himself and Sahabas, they dug a trench around Medina. So when enemies came, they were confident it would be shout and sweet victory for them. But when they came and they saw a trench, they could not cross that trench. And very soon the provisions ran out and they had to go empty-handed from Medina. So that's what Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is saying, that consult them, that because a new ideas. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has bestowed Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with all the knowledges, but it is the practice of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It is actually Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is teaching his ummah, his nation, that consult each other so you can come up with better idea. And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is saying that if Allah Subhanahu wa Taala helps you, nobody can overwhelm you. And that's what we see in that. And if he abandons you, who will give you victory? So, and in the next ayat, it is not the prophets do not break anybody's trust. And that's actually the title of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. His title is Amin. That means trustworthy. And his trust, that even the kuffar, they trusted him so much that after declaring prophet, that whole Makkah became the very harsh enemy of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But they, even at that point, they did not lose trust on him. So even in the last day in Makkah, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had a decision to move out of Makkah and migrate to Medina, so they had encircled all, they had surrounded the house with the intention of hurting him. Even then, all the valuables were still in the house, the very house they had encircled and they had surrounded. And when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was going out, so he told Sayyidina Ali that when you come back, he consoled him and says that nobody will hurt you, you will be okay. Return all the valuables to their rightful owners and then come to Medina. And that's what he, even in the time when, like here in this day, if somebody come to hurt us, so all the gloves are off. We say, oh, this guy come to kill me and hurt me, so his valuables are my valuables, and he would. But even at that time, so Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is saying that it is not up to the Nabi that he will break anybody's trust. And is saying that anybody in this worldly life, we break somebody's trust, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala will make him accountable on the day of judgment. So it is the sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And even as recently as about 100 years ago, so Muslims, they say that it is the one of the main part of the sunnah, that even before declaring himself prophet, that Quraysh used to call him Sadiq and Amin, means the truthful and the trustworthy. And anybody, they will conduct their businesses, they will conduct their dealings in such an honor way that in India, if there was a wedding and the valuables were to be carried from one village of all the brides was used to be carried from one village to another. So what will they would do? They will say that, oh, Muslims are trustworthy. So they will find one Muslim person and they will leave him in charge of all the valuables, and they will leave him in charge of the dignity and the chastity of the bride, and say that under your leadership, bride will go from one village to another. So that was the level of trust Muslims enjoyed, because they really believe in following the footsteps of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we were honored all over the world. Unfortunately, that trust has been badly tarnished of Muslims. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that those people who betray people trust, and in the next ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, are those two people equal? Those people who are seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and those people who are disobeying and earning the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're not equal. And those people who are seeking the wrath or the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their destination is Jahannam, and this is a very bad place. And hum darajatu indallah wallahu basirun bima ya'malun. And both for the bad people, because they are the varying grades, both for Jannah and Jahannam. One of the person who his name was Gary Miller. He was a Christian priest of Dutch origin. He converted to Islam. And when people ask him that, what is the thing that strike move you to become a Muslim? He said that I, as a priest, is that in Christianity there's a concept of Jahannam, which is hellfire, and this concept of heaven, but there are no grades. So he said that I used to wonder, a bad guy like Hitler who killed millions of people, and a person who stole a piece of bread, are they equal? But in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that for the darajat, for the Jannat, and for so in the Jannat, for the people who do good deeds, they are darajat, and highest form of Jannat for the people who have the best of the thing is Jannat al-Firdaus. And Jannat al-Firdaus, which is there's the one Jannat which is called Fadila. This is the highest of highs. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was humble, and he says only reserved for one prophet. And he says, I expect that I will get it. So in the Azan, when we make the dua, Allahumma rabba hazid dawat at-tama wa salat al-qaima wa ati Muhammadin fazilata wa wasila. So fazilata is the highest form of Jannat, which is dedicated for one prophet, which is our Lord Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And so good is the Jahannam, that Jahannam for evildoer is Jahannam, but more severe their crimes are, worse will be their punishment. Those Muslims who are the wrongdoers, they will also go to Jahannam, but they will not get a life sentence. They will serve their time, and they will come out. Allah will purify them and do that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now again describing. So Allah has conferred a great favor on Muslims. لَقَدْ مِنَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ بَعَثَ فِيهِمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that it is a great blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised among them a prophet, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and yatlu alayhim ayatihi, and he recite the ayats for them, and yuzakkihim, that he purifies them, yu'allimukul kitaba wal hikmah, and he teaches them the book and the hikmah, or the wisdom. And in kanu min qablu lafi dalalin mubin. So look at the miracle of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that he was ummi, but he was given a book of Quran, and the book of, and that society he was sent was very much a poetic society. All the poets, they were held in the highest esteem, or the people who can talk very eloquently. So eloquent speech or poetry was held in the highest thing, and they used to take a pride. So all the eloquent speakers and the poets, they were elected as a chief of the tribes. Also, before the battles, these poets or the orators, they used to make speeches to rally up the courage of the people. Just like it even happens today, that before a sports event or before a Super Bowl, the captain of the team or the coach, they address their thing, so boost up their morale. So that was and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that he was given a book although he was Ummi. And it was a book that, the best of the poets could not answer. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, وَإِن كُنتُمْ رَيْبٍ فِيمَّا. So if you have any doubts that, this book is not from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why don't you bring an ayat like this? And you would not be able to do that. So that is a proof that this is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the one purified. And وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through his prophet purified them. So both in the literal sense and both in the metaphoric sense, the concept of hygiene, the concept of taharat that was given by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how to bathe, how to clean yourself, how to keep yourself clean, how to do wudu, was taught by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And in a spiritual sense, that spiritual purity or cleanliness, that you remove shirk from you, you remove all the jealousy from your heart. So both in a spiritual sense and physical sense, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through his prophet taught them the cleanliness to them. And in this next ayat, that if any single disaster, which is Uhud, has shaken your morale, same thing had happened to Quraysh in the battle of Badr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you clean victory despite your small numbers and all that. So this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing, this is from the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can find out. It doesn't mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't know, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can expose those people who are the hypocrites. And this how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them. And among them, there were people who did participate in Uhud, but their hearts were not that, they were more closer to kufr than iman, because they had hearts were saying that, why us? Why we had to? Because there were people, when this thing happened, the disaster of Uhud, so those munafiqeen, they started saying that, we found comfort and peace and tranquility in Islamic state, but this is also inviting us war after war. So Raisul Munafiqeen, Abdullah bin Ubay said that, you see, ever since Muslims came here, whole Arabia has become our enemy, and we are being, but their thing is wrong, because all the battles Nabi Muhammad fought, if you do the counting of that, only 400 or 450 people lost their life in that. And in the turn, Islamic State was established that was most glorious, and that transformed the whole Arabia and later on the whole world. And in this next ayat, Allazina qalu li ikhwanihim qa'idu, that they are telling about their brethren who had lost their lives, that if they would have listened to us and would not have gone to battlefield, they would still be with us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say that, can you avoid the death? If it was up to us, who would want to die? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for each individual has a prescribed time for death. Sayyidina Ali used to say that death protects you. And why he would say that? He said that there's a prescribed time for death. So death cannot come before that. So actually, a certain time of death actually protects the life, because it cannot come before that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a prescribed time for everybody to die. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is again glorifying those people who are the shuhada, or those who die in the وَلَا تَحْسَبُنَّ الَّذِينَ قَتَلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. So those people who gave their life in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so do not believe that they are dead. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them food or things to eat, and they are happy with the fadl of Allah, and they are waiting those people who will follow him later in the later battles who would die. They were waiting that. So these kuffars, they were mourning, people from our tribe, men, they died in the battle of Uhud. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describing when they go to this next world, those shuhada, so they are happy and they are eating good food, and they are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forbidding them not to call them dead, because they are alive, but you cannot concept what kind of lives they are living. They are in the Jannah, and they're in the another form of life, and they are enjoying their life, and they are waiting for their brothers. So inshallah, we will leave it here. If there's any questions or comments, inshallah, we'll welcome them.